The HOA president tried to steal my lake access 3 times, right, before she realized she was messing with a retired land surveyor. The first time, she sent a slick lawyer with a threatening letter. The second time, the county sent me a violation notice. The third time, she sent an $85,000 excavator onto my private land to build a dock she had zero right to build. That's when I sent the sheriff. My name is Gary Denton. I'm 62, officially retired, and for 35 years of my life, my job was to determine exactly where one person's property line ends and another person's begins. Which is why when Veronica Shaw, that's the HOA president, the queen of Stonebrick Commons, told me my lakefront beach was community property, I didn't argue with her. I just smiled, I nodded, and I started building a case that would make my career proud. 6 months later, I was standing at the property line I'd surveyed myself back in 1998, watching that massive 12-ton yellow excavator rumble to a halt. The operator, a young guy, climbed down, reading the court order I'd just handed him. He read it twice, looked at the heavy, thick chain I'd stretched across the access road, and quietly climbed back into his cab. The engine choked, and he backed that thing up the hill. 200 yards away, I saw Veronica's face. It was the color of a cheap Cabernet. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had every email she'd ever sent, every single trespassing incident logged on camera, every lie she'd ever told documented in triplicate. And I'd been waiting 6 long, quiet months to use it all. But she didn't start out by threatening to sue me, oh no. She started with a smile, a pastel cardigan, and a terrible-looking casserole. This was April 2024. I'd been living in the cabin for about 5 months, having finally finished building my dream place after my wife passed away. I was looking forward to quiet mornings, coffee on the porch, fishing. I wasn't looking for drama, but drama came knocking. Veronica Shaw was standing on my porch holding a glass dish covered with aluminum foil. "Welcome to Stonebrick Commons," she said, flashing a realtor smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm the HOA president. Just wanted to introduce myself." We sat on my deck overlooking Lake Serenity, and she gave me the whole spiel, how wonderful the community was, how everyone looked out for each other, how they had traditions that made this place special. Then she got to the point. "We've always had access to the lake right here, through your property," she said, gesturing toward my private beach. "The previous owner was very generous about letting families use it. I'm sure you'll want to continue that wonderful tradition." I'd bought this land in '98 as an investment, back when it was just empty acres and a dirt road, paid $32,000 for 2.3 prime lakefront acres. The lake itself was private, surrounded by undeveloped parcels. Over the years, a developer bought up the surrounding ridge, carved it into lots, and built Stonebrick Commons, 247 nice homes with quarter-acre lots and lake views. But here's the thing about views. You can see the water, but you can't touch it. Not legally. Because every single one of those lots ended at the ridgeline, 50 to 80 feet above the water. My property was the only one with actual frontage, the only one with a deeded access road down to the water, a road I built myself in '99, paid for every load of gravel, and surveyed every inch. So, when Veronica made her polite request, I said yes. "Keep it reasonable," I told her. "No big parties. Pick up your trash. Respect the property." She thanked me profusely. What I didn't realize was that Veronica wasn't asking for a favor. She was simply confirming what she already believed, that my beach belonged to everyone. See, she was also a realtor, Shaw Luxury Realty. And according to her sales materials, every single one of those 247 homes came with guaranteed community lake access. She'd been selling homes based on a lie for a decade. For the first 8 months, it was fine. Families came down, swam, waved, and left. Then, in December 2024, I walked down to the clubhouse to drop off my HOA dues, and that's when I saw the architectural drawings taped to the window. Big color renderings. A 2-tiered dock with a covered pavilion, composite decking, kayak racks. At the bottom, Stonebrick Commons Community Beach Project. Estimated cost, $85,000. I stared for a full minute. That dock was drawn right onto my property. No question. The next morning, I found a laminated notice staked into the sand, Notice of Construction. The HOA will begin Phase 1 construction on January 15, 2025. I called Veronica. She answered on the second ring, all chirpy. Hi, Gary. Did you see the notice? Exciting, right? Veronica, I said, keeping my voice low and even, did anyone from the HOA ask my permission to build this dock? There was a pause. Then she gave a short, confused little laugh. Permission, Gary? We don't need permission. That's community property. No, I said. It's not. Well, she said, and I could hear the smile fading, we've been using it for years. Everyone knows it's part of the HOA. Show me the easement, I challenged. Another pause, longer this time. The what? The recorded easement. The legal document that gives the HOA access rights to my property. Show me that, and we're fine. I don't think we have anything like that, she said slowly. But it's always been. If you don't have an easement, Veronica, then you've been trespassing for years. And if you build that dock, I'll have it torn down and build the HOA. The line went quiet. Then she spoke in a voice I hadn't heard before, cold and clipped. We will proceed as planned, Gary. This is for the good of the community. And she hung up. That night, I pulled every single document I owned. My original survey, the deed, the tax records. I read the HOA covenants online. They had nothing. No easement, no recorded rights. Just vague, aspirational language about community lake access. It was all smoke. She'd been selling homes based on a decade of fiction. I picked up the phone and called an old friend of my late wife, a sharp property attorney named Ellie Roth. Ellie, I said, I need your help, and I think you're going to enjoy this. She listened to the whole story, then paused. Gary, I'm going to be honest with you. You have what we call a slam dunk case. But HOAs are vindictive. They have money. They have lawyers on retainer. They do not like losing. If you fight this, prepare for it to get ugly. How ugly? I asked. Fines, liens, harassment. They'll make your life miserable for as long as they can. I looked out at the dark water, my water, the lake I'd owned for 27 years. What do I need to do? Document everything, she said. Every interaction, every trespass, every threat. Get it in writing, get it on camera. Build a case so airtight they can't wiggle out of it. And then we hit them so hard they never try this again. I ordered a trail camera, the kind hunters use, night vision, time stamp. I mounted it on a tree, angled to capture every car, every face. Then I printed bright orange property line markers and staked them every 20 feet along my boundary. I wanted zero confusion. On December 18th, I sent an email to the entire HOA board. I do not consent to construction on my property. Any entry onto this land without my explicit written permission constitutes trespassing under state law. I expect all construction plans to be halted immediately. I attached my deed and survey. Veronica's reply came back in 47 minutes. Gary, you're being selfish. 247 families depend on that lake access. We've already awarded the construction contract and collected the special assessment. We will proceed as planned. Gold, Ellie told me 10 minutes later, laughing. She just admitted in writing that they are proceeding without your permission. That is knowing and willful trespass. What's your next move? We file for a temporary restraining order. And in the meantime, you keep that camera rolling. I want footage of every single person who steps foot on your property between now and January 15th. 28 days. I opened my laptop, created a spreadsheet, date, time, description, evidence file. And I waited. The camera footage piled up quickly, families walking down, kids splashing, a couple having a picnic. I didn't confront anyone. I just logged it all. January 15th arrived, cold and clear. I woke up at 6, made coffee, and walked down to the access road. The chain was in my truck bed, 15 feet of heavy gauge steel, the kind they use on construction sites. At 6:45, I heard the rumble of diesel. I called Deputy Frank Hollister. He was former Marine Corps, late 50s, the kind of cop who actually read the law. The excavator came around the bend at 7:03. Big yellow cat, treads clanking. I walked over and handed the operator my documents, the certified survey, my deed, and the temporary restraining order issued yesterday. Frank's cruiser rolled to a stop right behind the excavator. The whole thing took 9 minutes. The operator backed up the hill. Then Veronica's Mercedes came screeching down the road. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she screamed, face red. "Protecting my property," I said. "Show me the easement, Veronica," I challenged, holding her gaze. She stopped, blinked. "We don't need an easement. We've been using." "That's called trespassing," Frank said quietly. I handed her the TRO. "You're served. Bring your lawyer to the hearing in 14 days. After she left, I pulled the chain across the road and locked it with the Navy-grade padlock. It made a satisfying click. The padlock stayed locked for exactly 4 hours and 16 minutes. Then my trail camera caught 3 people walking down, Veronica, a man in a suit, and a board member. The man pulled out bolt cutters. The camera captured the audio, just cut it. "He can't stop all of us." The handles bent. The lock didn't. "Military grade," I said from behind them. I'd walked through the woods, staying off the road. "That's a Navy pack lock, hardened steel. You'd need an angle grinder to get through it. Or, my permission." Veronica's face went white. "You can't just lock us out." "I can, actually. It's my property." I handed the man in the suit my attorney's card. "Send any correspondence to her. Now get off my property before I call the sheriff again." The HOA's counterattack started right on schedule. They voted to levy a $500 per month fine against me for blocking access. Then came the mass email to all 247 homeowners: "Due to the actions of one selfish resident, the community beach project has been delayed. The board is taking legal action to protect your rights." Slander, Gary, Ellie told me, still laughing. To 247 witnesses. This is Christmas morning for a litigation attorney. Then the demand letter arrived, demanding $250,000 for damages and claiming prescriptive easement. Then the hate started. The phone calls, the angry voicemails, "I hope your house burns down." I saved every message. Then the vandalism. Someone keyed my truck. My mailbox was ripped out of the ground. Rotting food dumped on my driveway. I filed police reports for all of it. Ellie sent back a surgical response, pointing out that prescriptive easement in our state required 20 years of continuous adverse use. The HOA was only 18 years old. Case closed. But Veronica had one more card to play, and it was a card that actually could have worked if she hadn't gotten greedy. I received a certified letter from the county planning department, notice of violation. It claimed I'd installed an unpermitted barrier across a public right-of-way and had 10 days to remove it or face $1,000 per day fines. I read it 3 times. The access road was my road, built in 1999. I called the clerk. The complaint, of course, was filed by Veronica Shaw. And it was flagged for priority review by Commissioner Victor Thorne. "Thorne," I said to Ellie on the phone. "The county commissioner. She's pulling strings now." "Okay, Ellie said, her voice dropping, let me make some calls. You just filed a Freedom of Information Act request, right? I want to see every email between Veronica and that commissioner. This was it. We were no longer fighting the HOA. We were fighting City Hall. Thorne, I said to Ellie on the phone. The county commissioner. She's pulling strings now. Okay, Ellie said, her voice dropping, let me make some calls. You just filed a Freedom of Information Act request, right? I want to see every email between Veronica and that commissioner. This was it. We were no longer fighting the HOA. We were fighting City Hall. Then, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Denton, this is Ben Carter, I'm a reporter with the Valley Observer. I cover local government. I saw your name on some court filings. Your case popped up on my radar because Commissioner Thorne personally expedited a violation notice against you. That's unusual. Mind if I ask what's going on? I gave him the short version. Mr. Denton, Ben said, can we meet in person? I think we can help each other. We met at a coffee shop in the next town over. He showed me his folder. Commissioner Thorne's nephew owned Thorne Brothers Excavation, the company Veronica hired for the dock. Ben had pulled the bids. Two other companies bid $52,000 and $58,000. Thorne Brothers bid $85,000. They were awarded the contract anyway. A $30,000 difference. And campaign finance records showed that Veronica Shaw personally gave $2,500 to Thorne's re-election campaign. So, I summarized, she donates, he fast-tracks her permits and violations, and his nephew gets inflated contracts. That's what it looks like, Ben nodded. I need proof of coordination. I'll have those emails in a couple weeks, I promised. Ben published his full investigation on March 7. The headline, The Lake Access Land Grab, How One HOA Built an Empire on Someone Else's Property. It detailed everything, my 1998 purchase, the lack of an easement, the HOA's false marketing materials, the $85,000 contract awarded to Thorne's nephew, and the campaign donations. The local TV station called. I looked directly at the camera. Is it true you're blocking 247 families from accessing the lake? The reporter asked. No, I replied, steady and calm. I'm blocking an HOA from building on my private property without permission. They've been trespassing for 18 years and calling it tradition. The HOA says I'm selfish. I say the HOA sold homes by promising lake access they didn't legally have. That's fraud. I'm not the villain here. I'm the guy who actually owns the land. The clip went viral. In Stonebrook Commons, the narrative shifted hard. It wasn't mean guy blocks lake anymore. It was HOA caught lying about property rights. The County Ethics Board opened an investigation into Commissioner Thorne. 2 weeks later, he recused himself from all HOA-related matters. The violation notice against me was quietly rescinded. No explanation, just a one-sentence letter. Upon further review, the access road in question is determined to be private property. Case closed. But the real bombshell came from a title insurance investigator. She sent a letter to the HOA board, title defect notice. Her finding, 0 recorded easements. Homeowners who bought their homes based on those representations might have claims against the HOA for fraudulent inducement. 18 homeowners threatened to sue the HOA board personally. Their insurance carrier denied coverage. Their first law firm quit. Veronica made one last desperate play, calling an emergency homeowner meeting to propose a special assessment of $2,000 per household to fund the legal defense. The clubhouse was packed. You told us we had lake access when we bought our homes, one man shouted. You lied, another woman yelled. Why should we pay $2,000 to fix your screw-up? 89 homeowners signed a letter on the spot, settle with Mr. Denton immediately or we will pursue legal action against the board. Veronica's two remaining board members resigned on the spot. She was left standing alone. 3 days later, Ellie got the call from their new lawyer. My client is interested in discussing settlement. $150,000, Ellie demanded, a public apology, a notice recorded on all property deeds stating that no easement exists, plus Veronica Shaw's resignation. In exchange, Mr. Denton will grant a revocable license for limited lake access. Take it or leave it. 2 days later, they agreed to everything. Veronica quit the next morning. The court hearing arrived in April, not about the settlement, but about the permanent injunction. Ellie walked to the podium. Your Honor, this case is not complicated. It's Property Law 101. Mr. Denton owns the land. The HOA does not. There is no easement recorded or otherwise. Everything else is noise. She crushed the prescriptive easement claim, 18 years, not 20. Permissive use, not adverse. Then she played the video, Veronica and the bolt cutters. And she presented the final piece of evidence, the email from Veronica to the board a year ago. We need to figure out the easement situation before Denton finds out we don't have one. Ellie looked up at the judge. They knew, Your Honor. They knew they didn't have legal access, and they proceeded anyway. Judge Andrea Thornhill took off her glasses. Equity doesn't override property law, counselor, she told the HOA's lawyer. One sharp crack of the gavel. I am granting Mr. Denton's motion for a permanent injunction. The Stonebrick Commons HOA and all residents are permanently enjoined from entering Mr. Denton's property without his express written consent. She awarded me $37,000 in attorney's fees and costs. I didn't gloat. I just got in my truck and drove home, because winning in court was only half the battle. The real question was, what do you do with power once you've got it? I drafted the Lake Serenity Community Access Agreement, a revocable license with strict terms, maximum 30 families per day, reservation system, pack-in/pack-out, and a mandatory 1 hour of volunteer lake cleanup per season. I never wanted to block access, I wanted respect. Now we had both. The $150,000 was more money than I needed. I put it to work. First, I established the Clearwater Conservation Fund with $80,000, focused on protecting the lake for the next 100 years. Second, I endowed a surveyor scholarship. And third, I set aside $30,000 for the Good Neighbor Legal Defense Fund, offering free consultations for any homeowner in the county dealing with HOA overreach. We held the first annual Lake Restoration Day. Families I'd fought with were working side by side with me, planting native trees, hauling mulch. Even some of the people who'd sent me hate mail showed up to apologize in person. It's been a year and a half. The Community Access Agreement is working. 0 rule violations. The Conservation Fund secured a matching grant. I'm still here. Still drinking coffee on my porch at sunrise. Still watching the water. Still grateful I stood my ground when it mattered. Here's what I learned, and I hope you take this with you. 1. Document everything. Paper trails win cases. 2. Know your property lines. Get a survey. 3. The law protects you, but only if you're willing to use it. 4. Authority without accountability is just bullying. Make them accountable. And 5. When you win, don't just win for yourself. Build something that lasts. Build something that helps people. That's how you change the culture. If you're fighting an HOA, a bad boss, or any system that thinks power means more than law, know this, you're not alone. Share your story. Learn from others. If this story helped you in any way, share it. Justice is contagious. Now go protect what's yours.